Again, you need to use smart objects with your link support files, and it's going to, this will prevent mismatch resolution problems. Again, I've got some links to image sources. And again, I reiterate, because it's so important to me that you guys really change the compositions of other people's work enough that it becomes your own. I will severely penalize your grade, anyone's grade, not yours, Ashley, just not just yours, anybody's grade who doesn't significantly enough modify their work, someone else's work. Okay. And then we've talked about some of the stuff, I think, in other assignments about some ways that you can, consider developing emotion or hierarchy and things like that. So you guys can read through this again. And then you guys are going to need to do some idea generation with some basic sketches. These don't have to be like works of art, these sketches, but it'll help you kind of think of ways that you can start to explore putting pieces of images together, right? And also it'll help you figure out like the scale of things too, because sometimes I find that people will drop parts of images in together, but they don't necessarily change the perspective or the scale. And so you guys can really start to think about how you can modify that. If you're doing a sketch, you're not stuck with the conformity of what's already there. You can start to think about how you would want it to look, and then you can make the thing look the way you want it to look. And so that's part of the challenge too. And then you just start compositing in Photoshop. One of the things that I will be talking about, not today, but in another class or in another lecture, is HDR filters. It's not something that we've really addressed yet, but HDR is basically where you've probably seen it, and maybe you've known what it was, maybe you didn't. If you see these images where you think, God, the color is amazing. How could anybody get color that amazing? Where maybe it's a beach scene or it's a scene of a landscape that has, like a flowing river, and like every single color of every single thing is really brought out to its best capacity. Well, what it probably is, or, and it might have like super saturation and stuff. What it probably is, it's probably an HDR image where basically it's a high definition range image where the way that you would traditionally make something like this is you would have a nice camera and you would take multiple versions of the same picture. So you would set your camera so that it would shoot like six different shots at different f-stops, so that it has different exposures, so that it allows like a low light version, like a blown out highlight bright version, like a normal color range version, and so you have to have at least 3 images. Usually people will have like 5 to 6, and then what you do is you use HDR software that will basically pull out the best and brightest components of all of those images and kind of composite them together as one photograph. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit about HDR stuff. And I'm going to show you how you can sort of fudge HDR a little bit, because a lot of you guys are going to be finding other people's photographs. A lot of people aren't going to be taking their own photographs, although you're more than welcome to go out and shoot your own work, right? But if you are using someone else's photo, then you're probably just going to have one photograph to use and not 6 different versions of it. And so there's some ways that you can kind of make duplicate versions of different exposures, fudge it, and put it together and still come out with something that's really interesting. I'll also show you guys how to use a tool that is it's called Photomatics Pro. It's not free, but you can get a trial version. You can also get a student version that is inexpensive. But I will probably go over Photomatics a little bit as well. It sort of has a lot more interesting options than just the Photoshop HDR stuff. So that's something that we'll also talk about at some point, not today, right? So, and then down below are some examples of student work, and I really like for you guys all to look at it, because this is the quality of what I am expecting, all right? So this student composited, for instance, it was a picture of a girl running, and had another picture of a Vespa, had a separate picture of this scene with like this European-looking city. The European-looking city did not have all this wall texture on the walls, right? She did that. The student did that. Obviously the tsunami was not there in this picture. She did that too. So this is like a really nice image where like you know, you can kind of see that she did some HDR stuff to some of this, like the images really got good contrast, good color. It's, you know, so that's a good example. This is another example. This is a student who actually took a photograph of himself. This is him, and then he also took images of like glass shards and some other stuff, and he started to composite it himself. It's the idea in his movie that he's like in a sort of a time warp thing, and was ejected, I think, from a plane, and he's breaking apart in some kind of weird time warp or something like that. So it's really a phenomenally interesting photograph, right? This is, you know, another one that had lots of different pieces in composite, you know, composite pieces. And the thing is, you look at it and it looks like it was shot like that. Like it looks like the picture was really taken like that, and maybe has some effects on it so that it, you know, feels a little bit like it has that like 3D texturizing stuff. But it didn't look anything like this at all, you know, whenever she first started. So this would be a thriller example. There's another one that would be science fiction. Again, this looks like it came this way, and none of these pictures, you know, these are all a bunch of separate images that were composited together, right? And so this is the kind of level that I'm looking for, where it really looks like it was part of like just somebody took a camera and took a picture, and or hit the pause button, you know, from a movie, specifically hit the pause button on a movie, and they captured something in time that really tells us emotionally about the film, or it embodies the film, it embodies the action of the film or something, right? Okay, and then, I mean, this one is really interesting. It's pretty gruesome, but it's also a science fiction thriller. You know, it's a pretty rough looking image, but he actually did a very nice job in a lot of ways, in terms of like light sourcing, and, you know, this was, I think, the Honda robot actually, and then he got a fraternity paddle or something. And I mean, it's really strange, but it's interesting, and it does look like it came right out of a sci-fi action thriller movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm not going to go through every single picture, right? But does that basically make sense to you? Do you have any questions?
Not too much. I think that's a pretty good like overview of everything. I think that,
okay.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I mean, I don't have any questions right now. If I do, I'll
Okay. 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 So yeah, I'm not really gonna go over all of the technical requirements. You guys can read through these. I would expect you to read through them in advance so that you can kind of plan what you're going to do. But yeah, that's the assignment, and it's actually, you know, it's kind of I think it's a lot of people find it to be a fun assignment. They don't maybe feel comfortable with it at the very beginning because it sort of seems like a strange concept to try to imagine a plot for a movie just so you can make a still frame from it. But it's it actually is something that's a good process because it requires that you think about a lot that would go into a single image and the meaning of a single image. That's more than just like, okay, well, I'm going to make a picture. It's like you're making an entire huge story, and then you're capturing the entire huge story in one frame.